Welcome to CRO Cafe. I am Guido Jansen, and this episode is part of a mini-series I'm recording ahead of Space Academy, Experimentation Leads event on practical AI experimentation, May 7th in London. And my guest today is Juliana Jackson. Juliana is Cloud Director of Data Science at Jellyfish. She teaches data storytelling at IHM Business School in Malmo. She co-hosts the Standard Deviation podcast with Simo Ahava. One of the many tracks you can know Juliana of. Last year, she also won with her team a bronze Lovey, the People's Lovey, and two BIMA bronzes for a Starbucks project they deliberately built on a small language model, which seems to be becoming a recurring theme of this podcast series.
Remember
Very
when we
good.
were talking about it? We didn't know back then this is gonna be so
Yeah,
sexy.
yeah, exactly.
I didn't know
Apparently,
either.
that's the way to go now.
Yeah.
Your LinkedIn tagline is known for saying things that others won't, which is exactly why I wanted her on the show. And also, of course, why you are running the whole day at Space Academy as mission control host. Juliana, welcome to CRO Cafe.
I'm super happy to be back. It's been a minute. It's
It's
been
been a
super.
minute. It's
Yeah.
been a minute.
Yeah, it's been, but
Hey,
always
you've been at Jellyfish now for about 8 months.
yes.
Cloud Director of Data Science. The company is in Copenhagen, right?
Yeah, so it's a
The
global
office.
company. There's
Yes,
like a lot of people everywhere. I'm hired by the Swedish office, but I go to Copenhagen because it's
it's
closer to
closer by.
Malmo than
Yeah,
Stockholm.
yeah. Malmö Copenhagen is a very easy trip with the train, right?
Yeah.
Across the
I couldn't
bridge.
go to Stockholm. It would be 6 hours with the train.
Yeah, exactly. Much longer trip. Hey, and
Yeah.
so you're working with enterprises on Google Cloud and AI.
Yeah.
What have you found yourself saying to clients more often than you expected to? What's the conversation that keeps coming up across multiple clients?
That's a good. That's let me formulate that answer. Um, I think maybe one of the common themes would be obviously around AI because everybody is trying to implement AI as part of their workflows and as part of their systems, and we're
Hmm.
always talk about governance and guardrails, like how can we be in control of what is the output? How can we be in control with different things that we do? Because if you think about it, like if you think about traditional data warehouse in general is built
Hmm.
for reporting purposes. It was
Yep.
never built for this autonomous decision maker reasoning type of tool that an LLM is and or an
Yep.
agent is. So now I guess the transformation is happening from going to a traditional data warehouse to a Gen AI ready data warehouse. So it's a lot of conversation about what are the layers that you need to be able to deploy AI, to be able to deploy different agents. So that comes a lot in the conversation.
Yeah.
Besides classic things of how do we build different audiences, how can we target bid better, and so on on
Yeah.
different platforms.
And
But
I
yeah,
suppose
that's it.
I suppose also a lot more like live retrieval of data than before. Like I mean, if you generate a report, the report can remain the same for like a day, but with live retrieval, you need much more CPU power, I guess, behind it, and maybe data bandwidth to cope with that, right?
No, for sure. And you need these real time systems to be able, if you want this agentic layer on top of your operations, you do need this live layer of data that agents can, go and input so they can output on, across your systems. There is, of course, a lot of need for data. But again, this the question of like who's actioning it. So sure, we're gonna say agents, but I think one problem that I still see after all these years that since we're talking and it's the same thing like now we have agents and we have AI, but we're trying to solve problems that have been already solved in the past by different
Hmm.
things. So somehow I do feel that we are seeking problems for our solutions instead of being the other way around when you actually build something because you want to innovate, because you want to solve something. Now we're just taking the AI in our hands and we're just chasing problems in need of a solution. So yeah, it's complicated to be. I don't know. This is a very weird time, I guess, in our industry.
Yeah, and I think in line with that, You wrote a piece earlier this year that opened with the line that the distance between what gets funded and what actually works has never been wider. Over $200 billion went into AI last year. From where you sit, talking to these enterprises every week, what fraction of that is going into things that will still exist in 2 years, that we will still use? And maybe from the perspective of the experimentation crowds, where are we still kidding ourselves with when it comes to AI?
I think I was just recently, a few days ago, reading this research from Gartner, and it was basically saying that 60% of all companies that have been investing in AI by the end of 2026 will abandon most of their AI projects because of the lack of foundation, data foundations, data warehouses, systems that have, guardrails in place and so on. I think you know what, it is an age of exploration. I think for the past 20 years we had this age of optimization where we're just trying to fix things, but now I do think we're in an exploration phase. So a lot of testing is happening with these models, with different tools and different technologies and so on. Well, it's kind of like they're great, but is it useful? Is it the question that you have to ask yourself? Is it really useful? I don't know. I probably is not. I do see a lot of, it's like, because I have ADHD, so I have a closet of abandoned hobbies, because we like to start a lot of things all the time and start doing them, but we don't continue them. So I do feel like this whole AI thing is very similar to ADHD. It's a closet of abandoned ideas and lovable that you build. And actually, could give you a good example. I was scrolling LinkedIn some weeks ago, and I was feeling so like bad with myself because I haven't downloaded cloud in my computer to run specific things or build new things. And I was like, wow, like, am I really falling behind? Like, I used to be at the edge of this stuff. I used to build things, but like, you see all these people that are not even technical and they're building these random tools. And then I started thinking to myself, like, what do I want to build? And I realized, like, I don't really need anything else than what I have. So why would I start building? I don't know. Let's say I don't like Zoom anymore, so I'm just gonna build a new Zoom. Or I don't like my I don't know, my Google Docs or Google Slides, so I'm just gonna build a new tool. And it, back to your question, it makes you think, because there was this HubSpot post about how their stock dipped because a lot of people are using Lovable, are using Replit or whatever to build new tools.
Yeah, or building custom in-house tools, right?
Customs, yeah. But the thing is this, yes, you can build the shell of it, but you need to think about the cybersecurity, about operations, about all the system engineering that it requires. So like, if you think about how much HubSpot would pay for people, for systems, for tools to make sure everybody's data is safe, that you have delivery, that you have support, that workflows are working, like, nobody would afford that type of thing, especially if you want to scale. If you want to build something and use it for yourself, that's fine. But building a product is not just building the interface. That's the thing. We tend to confuse the interface because it's something palpable, it's an abstraction of what is behind. But that's not only the thing. Like, there's a lot of software engineering and system design principles in the back that we don't know because we're not software engineers. It's an interesting market. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely also have that. You don't see it on camera, but there's a whole closet here, a wall of closets with abandoned IDs. So
Exactly.
Very, very familiar. And you also said on I think there was the Analytics Power Hour, that's a good it's the wrong question to ask if AI is good at data analysis. And your point was that LLMs are probabilistic, right? So if you ask an LLM the same answer twice, it will give you a different answer each time, compared to, I don't know, run linear regression today and tomorrow, it will give you the exact same answer, assuming the data is the same. So if we're not asking, if we shouldn't be asking that question, what should, especially experimentation teams, what should we be asking? Where does the LLM belong? Big or small? Where does the LLM belong in the analyst workflow?
Yeah, no, this is an excellent question. I think a big problem we had in conversion optimization or experimentation was that we had tons of unstructured data to analyze and to come up with new hypotheses. So LLMs are really, really good at, let's say, survey analysis, cluster pattern analysis based on, textual data, interview data, customer support data. There's so many nuances of text data that you can use right now and analyze it at scale, or like the word that I like to use for LLM analysis, synthesis. You can synthesize a
Yeah.
scale. That's the best use case of this. Like, this is one thing that we don't invest enough, I think, in experimentation, is how we build our hypotheses and how we formulate them, and whether we have enough data to come up with a new hypothesis based on whatever observations that we do. But this kind of expands the level of observation where you can come up with new ideas and ways to look at things. And that's what I would use an LLM on. You have search data, you have Reddit data, you can scrape things so much faster now to get more qualitative data to your experiments. I think we have enough quantitative data, enough funnel analysis, enough of all of that stuff that doesn't even make sense anymore, because
Yeah.
nobody just peruses the internet and ends up at your website. Like, Talia Wolf was saying something. I see something on YouTube. I'm going to verify on Reddit if it's true. And then I'm going to go to your website to check if it's the same thing. And then I'm going to go back on YouTube to make sure that that's... So there's so many touch points that happen right now that you cannot really understand if you just, run a funnel analysis. So this is a great opportunity for people in CRO to use these models to synthesize textual data, reviews, search data. It's so much that you can do right now. Can you use it for numbers? No, I mean, you shouldn't. That's why you have math. That's why you have machine learning. And for sure, LLMs are better in general than they used to be 2 years ago when I was working on that Starbucks project. Like,
Yeah.
I would not do the same thing the same if it was for it to work. But it's just, because we get a result in a chat interface, we think everything is so simple. So we start thinking like, hey, well, I don't need to run a linear regression or this, or run a confusion matrix. Who cares? I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT, or I'm just gonna ask Claude, and it sounds good, so might as well do it. Yeah.
So what are the biggest things that you would do different for that project, for example?
For what?
For the Starbucks project?
I think maybe I would use a LLM for the synthesis of because at that time Gemini was not very good to synthesize a review, so we were using zero-shot classification. So it's something that you code inside the model. So you give it one label, a specific label, and then it looks in the reviews and tells you how many times that label was found in the review. If I would do it now, I would add the nice reasoning of the review, what was the nuances. I would cluster some reviews like that and kind of tell a story, generate a hypothesis based on all the reviews. Like, I would do more cool stuff. But at that time when me and Krasimir built this, you couldn't have used Gemini. Gemini is much better these days. And
Yeah.
I don't use... and I had this conversation this morning with Simo and Krasimir and other people, and I was saying I don't use Claude or Gemini or anything from the chat interface unless I need to rewrite something, because English is not my native language, so maybe I need to rewrite something or change the title, make it more SEO friendly. I use it as an API inside of a cloud infrastructure, so I don't really see these models, I just see the results. So I don't, I wouldn't do this. But now it's so much easier. You can deploy a pipeline in an hour where you ingest the reviews from a platform. You use ML generate text and Gemini to analyze and synthesize this. Boom, 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 and you get the results. It doesn't require that much manpower that it used to require back then. But for those that are interested, that pipeline for Starbucks is still alive as well. And well, it didn't die for 3 years. I think if it was a Gemini, if we would have done it with Gemini back then, it wouldn't have lasted as long. Yeah.
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 Okay, so we shouldn't be using LLM for data analysis, right? But you'll please don't. But in a recent blog, you also and I think you presented about it at Super Week and Perform conferences. The haystack problem, right? I mean, you can just generate different variations endlessly, basically. So for those people who haven't seen that talk, what's the 1-minute version of the haystack paradox, and why do you think that's also relevant for also not another trap for experimentation?
So what I'm trying to say with that talk is that it has never been cheaper and easier and faster to create an asset, a creative asset. And most people, when they think about the creative asset, they think about an ad, but they think image, carousel, video. That's it. But one of those assets is a very high dimensional point in a very big space that has context, that has content, that has a concept. So imagine that an image will have a title, a CTA, a person, an actor, a gender, a location, a specific photography. So there's so many parameters to just one singular file that if you think when you test two images against each other, you will never know why an asset won. You will just know that it won, but was it the color, was it the background, was it the CTA? So I'm showing a way where you can basically decompose a creative asset like a video or an image in all its individual pieces, and then test it and understand what is the performance of that across different platforms. So for YouTube, for example, because this is something I'm working on right now, on YouTube, you have in-stream standard ads, which is the classic one that you see on when before the video, but then you have shorts. So a short is very different than an in-stream standard ad. And YouTube and Google has this ABCD framework for attention, branding, connection, and direction. So each asset will have very specific components that must rank very high for attention, for branding, for direction, and connection, so that they appear to you. So now in YouTube, you have YouTube AI, which basically means demand gen and VRC. So both of them are connected. It's not the same thing. So this means that the only way to target people is kind of to create an asset that is relevant. So now, because of the customer journey being so decentralized, it's so fragmented and multimodal, and people are just everywhere at once, the image is the image or the video, the creative asset is the only thing that follows people across where they are. So it's your storefront, it's your closer, it's your whole brand experience. So once you decompose these assets, for YouTube, for example, as I was talking, you know exactly where are the spots in the video or in the creative asset where you can make changes and amend them to fit with the platform best practices, to fit with the algorithm, so you will have not spend 14 days in that learning phase when you launch a YouTube campaign, and be day one ready from the start, because you test your creative before launch. But you can also test your creative in flight, and then you can test it post-flight. So this way you kind of like build this organization, I like to call it organizational memory of your assets. So every time you start a new campaign, you don't start from zero, you actually look back and say, well, this actually worked, this combination of creative elements worked. So I think this shouldn't be a strange thing or a new thing for CRO teams, because this is kind of like what we do, the culture of experimentation and center of excellence and whatever we're calling it these days. This is completely missing in media. So I found this spot in media where I really like to play right now, and YouTube is huge for me. If you want to see that talk, it's on the Super Week YouTube channel, but that talk changed so much in the last month, so next time I will do it, it's probably going to be, it's so many things that I've discovered in the process, but YouTube is very important for me. This is probably going to be most of my content about in the next period. That's why I'm quiet now on LinkedIn, because I'm cooking.
Well, we'll make sure to link to your YouTube channel in the show notes for sure. But just I think also for the haystack problem, I mean, if you have unlimited traffic, then and you can afford to not know why, then sure, create 40,000 variants and go wild. But most of us don't have the luxury of unlimited traffic. So we need to be we need to be smarter about the variants we pick and learn from them to be able to iterate, right? Otherwise, it's just a dead end after that. Nice. So my last question for you, Juliana. So you're running the whole day as mission control. What's the conversation that you hope that happens in the room that isn't happening at most AI and marketing events right now?
So I'm very excited because it's the first time I'm the MC. I'm
Yeah.
always like the speaker. So I'm low key terrified. I think we're done this
You'll do
before.
great. You'll do great.
I hope. I have to wear this Darth Vader costume the whole day. So that's gonna be
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
Because it
So
has
people
this.
won't know won't even know it's you.
That's the thing. So I was thinking of genuinely not taking off
That's a
my mask
secret.
at all. But then I have acne problem, so I'm probably gonna be exposed on the face. But I'm excited. There's great speakers like Jim, like Sunny, Lena, and Sarah. But I'm excited mostly about the unconference part where you get other people to to showcase what they're doing. What I'm hoping to get out of it is kind of like use cases, very practitioner led stories. I hope I'm not gonna get slap or stuff about in the competitive landscape of the ever changing digital competitive landscape or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited about use cases, excited about different case studies and things people are doing to get inspired. It's gonna be hard since I'm not speaking because I don't know what to do with myself. So I
But
hope this
no, but
will.
as the MC, you have the power to arrange everything in the room, right? So you can guide the questions and the
I might
conversations
even
and
just talk and not let nobody come on stage and just keep people there for 7 hours and
exactly.
just talk about life
If you want, you could do a whole presentation. You're on stage anyway. No one's gonna
for
kick you off.
everybody.
They'll
you know,
just force everyone to listen
to
to your
listen to me.
rant about anything. Yeah,
Otherwise,
you can
I'm
do
gonna
that.
choke them like this, in the audience.
Exactly. From a distance, you can choke everyone
Exactly,
at the same time.
exactly. And
Mind
it's
powers.
gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun for sure.
Good. Thank you so much, Juliana. So yeah, Juliana is hosting the entire day at Space Academy on May 7th in London. Tickets are still available. Link down below in the show notes. You can follow Juliana on LinkedIn. Her newsletter Beyond the Mean is on Substack, and the Standard Deviation podcast with Simo Ahava wherever you listen to your podcast, probably on the same platform you're listening to this podcast right now. And of course, like Word, go subscribe to Juliana on YouTube for all the future content and I guess the future version of the haystack presentation as well.
To be continued.
To be continued. I'm Guido Jansen. See you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.